Hi guys, welcome back to another machine battle. Now in UK agriculture, 300 horsepower is becoming a pretty common occurrence. They are increasingly popular due to the jobs that they can undertake, from cultivating with reasonably sized cultivators to grain cart because of their smallish size, and for all other types of use really, like because they are all conventional sized tractors for spinning, spraying, cultivations, grain cart, logistics, transport. They can be used for nearly every job on a UK arable farm. So I thought, on Farming Simulator, what is the best one to use? So I have handpicked 6 of the most common sites you would see usually in UK agriculture, and each of these tractors is bang on 300 horsepower or over and under by a very slight amount. Quite frustrating that they are not all 300 bang on. So I'll quickly go through my choices today and then we'll get the test underway. To make it fair to each tractor for the use of four-wheel drive and ballast and all that sort of thing, they're all fitted with a 1400 MX front weight. I think they're quite smart, but also to make it fair so everyone has a fair chance with ballast on the front because of the wheelbase sizes and difference and all that sort of thing. The cultivator for this challenge is the Horsch Tiger 6, so that is a 6 metre. I've chosen this one because it is bang on 300 horsepower that it needs. Let's show you the tractors then. So starting in no particular order, on the left hand side we have the John Deere 7270R. I'll quickly talk about the tyres. I have just chosen the standard tyre format that they come with as soon as you click on them. So I haven't changed any whips or anything like that. Just the standard generic tyre. So the John Deere is fitted with trelleborgs, 600 fronts, 710 rears. Let's go into a bit of the horsepower spec and price and all that sort of thing. Get the nitty gritty out of the way. So the 7R John Deere is in the large tractor category, and I've chosen the 270 because it's the closest to 300 I could get. So 305, so 5 horsepower more, and the actual price of this is 256,000 for the John Deere. Next we have the Claas Optum 300. Trelleborg tyres again, 600 fronts and 710 rears, so same tyres as the John Deere. The Claas Optum is in the large tractor category. The 270 is actually quite far off 300, so the next one up, surprisingly, is 313. So this one has the highest horsepower compared to the others, at 13 horsepower more. The actual price is 252,000. Moving on to the Deutz, or Deutz Fahr, however you want to say it. Now this particular tractor I have never used in this game. I'm not saying it's a bad tractor, I've just never felt the urge to try it out. So this is this will be an interesting one for me, as I've never really used a Deutz. Surprisingly, the standard tyre sizes, again 710 trelleborgs on the back, but the fronts, it's quite a bit dark, let's put the flashlight on, are 650s. So the Deutz has the widest front tyre in this test. Will that be an advantage, the extra grip? Who knows? Quite intrigued to see why, as from standard, it has bigger tyres. It does look quite a considerably larger tractor compared to the others. Like the wheelbase looks larger. The 7R and the case look very similar, but this looks quite a meaty tractor. Let's jump into the horsepower and price. So the Deutz Fahr Series 9, the 9290, is 295 horsepower, but we could have had a 312, but the rule was as close to 300 as we could get, and 295 is closer than 312 obviously. And this comes in quite a bit cheaper than the others at 246,000. Next up, Massey Ferguson 8727. Trelleborgs 600 fronts, 710 rears. So same tyres as the others so far. Large tractor category again. And this one is actually bang on 300, so we like that. And comes in at 250,000. So in the middle there, 250,000. Then it's Agco brother, the Fendt 930 Vario. Same tyres, Trelleborgs, 600s and 710 rears. So the Fendt is in the large tractor category, coming in at 305 horsepower. So 5 horsepower more, just a bit above the 300, but it's sort of in line with the others. But comes in at a whopping 272,000 for this tractor. Quite a lot more than the others. Last, but by no means least, we have the Claas 870 Axion. But the interesting thing about this class, it is the medium tractor category, because the large category Claas Axion is actually too much horsepower. It is way too much horsepower for this challenge. So this puts it at a major disadvantage in terms of weight, because this is obviously going to be a lighter tractor, but then also could it be an advantage because it's not going to bog down. Trelleborgs again, 600 fronts and 710 rears. So everyone has the same size tyres apart from the Deutz. A quick look at the horsepower then, 295. So that's a lot of horsepower for a medium category tractor, but then it is quite a lot cheaper. So we could have a winner here in cost per horsepower. This is the cheapest tractor in the group at 300 horsepower. Here are your contenders for today's challenge. Before we start, who's your money on? So the Optum's got the highest horsepower. The Deutz has the wider tyres, the front tyres. But then the Claas is the cheapest. This could be a really close challenge. They are all within 5 to 10 horsepower off of 300, aside from the Optum. Now, obviously there's no New Holland in this lineup, because the T7 HD is exactly the same as the Case Optum, and I just chose the Case Optum instead of the New Holland. No favouritism there, just purely first one I picked. Today's test is done with course play for eliminating human error as such, and today's test field is field 69 on 6 ashes, because it's reasonably sized, but it's got a hellish bank in it. It is quite an up and down field, so that'd be a real test for these tractors. Let's get this show on the road then. In no favouritism order or anything, the John Deere is literally hitched onto the Horsch, so we'll get cracking in the John Deere. So a quick update on what mods I'm using then to make this test a bit fair and a bit more fun really. I've got the realistic handling, so we'll see motor load and slip and all that sort of thing, and a couple of others which just make it a bit more interesting. So we should see it bog down and struggle and maybe even get stuck, but we'll see. So we'll start with the front weight on the edge of the field. We'll load up course play. So field 69, current vehicle position, automatic, 6 metre is auto generated. Headland passes, we shall do a large headland so they can turn around easier. Counterclockwise, we will start working on headland passes, smooth and then up and down. So we shall generate that. Zoom in and make sure that looks all good. Looks very nice. And then we'll just have a fiddle with the tractor turns and all that sort of thing. So I had a test earlier and I sort of played with turn-ins and all that sort of thing to make it a bit faster, because the computer cannot turn very quickly without a little bit of a tweak. So turn speed 15k, we'll leave all that, that auto generates at 18 metres, so I've knocked that down to 10, which seemed to work nicely. 6 meters also activated. We shall save this as test 1, so then we can load up the same course with each tractor, and then I shall get the stopwatch ready, and then once I push go, as soon as the cultivator hits the field, I shall then start the timer. Here we go then. The John Deere is off. And go. So just a quick look while it's going up this hill then. 100% engine load and quite a high slip. So that front weight obviously is going to help the front wheels dig in, just to make it a bit fair. The same weight for every tractor. The John Deere is struggling there on that first bit there. Be interesting to see how the others handle that bank. I'm quite interested to see how the Deutz handles it with that extra wide front tyre. Enough of that, time lapse time. Speak to you guys in a bit. So we will be stopping the stopwatch as soon as the cultivator lifts or stops, whichever comes first. And we're done. So the John Deere then, 33 minutes and 5 seconds. I will point out now that for some reason the turns on the headland went back up to 18 meters, so I changed it back to 10 meters. So we lost 3 turns actually, so I'll knock 15 seconds off because that required about 3 seconds of backing and it was a bit of a faff. So let's go for 32 minutes 50 then, just to make it a bit fair, and I'll just double check the other tractors don't reset to 18 again. So not bad from the John Deere. Let's get everything reset and onto the next tractor. Next up then we have the Claas Optum 300. 13 more horsepower than the John Deere and has the highest horsepower of the test. Let's get it underway. So as soon as the cultivator hits the ground or hits the field, we shall start the timer. And we're off. So it seems to be doing a worse job than the John Deere. That is definitely slower. I'd just like to add, I did just try this test a second ago and the case got stuck. The computer didn't seem to engage diff lock. So the John Deere, all wheels seemed to be spinning all the time, so that was fine. The case, it had four-wheel drive on, but diff lock wasn't on. So that was a bit slower up the hill then. Be interested to see how it tackles the rest of the field. See you guys in a bit. And as soon as something stops or lifts, and lift. Well then, 35.04. Quite surprising considering this is the highest horsepower. Also worth noting the diff lock full drivey problem. The John Deere seemed to be straight in course play, either has it engaged or it's always on. I'm a bit unsure about that, so to continue the test on each tractor I will just put diff lock and make sure full drive is always on. I'm not sure why the John Deere didn't have any issues, all wheels were spinning. Obviously done it in a 3250 because of the issues we had, so the highest horsepower so far is the slowest, although we've only had 2. This is turning into quite an interesting test because I had money on that the Claas Optum was going to win this, considering 313 horsepower. But with the issues, it seemed to really struggle on hills, and it's quite a big tractor as well. Let's get on with the next tractor. So next up is the Deutz, 295 horsepower, has the widest front tyres. Made sure full drive and diff lock is on this time. Again, I don't know why the Claas didn't have it when I engaged drive. It should be automatic. The John Deere didn't struggle. It sort of cracked on a bit. So from now on, I'll just make sure all of that is on and ready to go. Course has been generated. So again, as soon as the cultivator hits that field, it struggled a bit on the uphill there. But to me that seems like it's going faster. Well, we'll soon find out at the end. Let's crack on and I'll speak to you guys in a bit. The mighty Deutz then, falling just behind the Optum by about a minute and a half. We have a time of 36:34. I am quite impressed. Not a bad machine. So next up we have Mr. Massey. Bang on 300 horsepower, same tyres as the others. Let's get this show underway. I've noticed that the turning circle on the Massey was 7 metres then, but I'll stick it to 10, make it fair. Everything else is good to go and ready. Course looks good. Diff lock and full drive are on. And we're a go. That is really struggling. Interesting. So the Massey cannot complete the task. I will give it one more go for the benefit of the Massey fans. Well then. We have our first failure, really. I'm quite surprised at that. 300 horsepower. Just curious if... see if I can get out of that. Yeah, it's a failure. I'm sorry to say this, Massey guys, but your tractor cannot compete in this test. I'm really quite shocked at that. I thought this was going to be a contender. 300 horsepower, large tractor category. It is unable to complete. So if that Massey and the Fendt are similar tractors, we could see some uproar here. Let's get the Fendt underway. So the field's been reset. We have the Fendt 930, which is 305 horsepower, so just slightly over. So in theory, should be able to do this task absolutely fine. Let's get the course play loaded up. Turn speed 15, reverse speed 10, just to make sure everything is tallying up with everything else. There's another setting I wanted to do. Why can't I find it? Aha. 10 meters. Everything else seems to be all in order. Next closest waypoint. Reset the timer. And then as soon as the cultivator hits the field, about now, and we are off. Let's see if it gets stuck in a similar position to the Massey, or if it will handle the job well. It is really struggling. That's pretty obvious there. The Fendt, unfortunately, has failed the task as well. So that goes in the bin with the Massey. Sorry Agco boys, sorry Massey boys. It's been a fair test up till now. Unfortunately, we have another one that has failed. Well, if these two failed, this poor old Claas, I'm not feeling pretty confident that this is going to do so well. So the field has been reset. Let's get course play all up and running. I'll load that up. Make sure everything is the same as the others. 10 and that one. All good, that's the same. 10 meters, yep. Right. Just resetting my timer. And we'll get the class underway. Same rules as the others, as soon as it hits the field, and we are off. So I'm not feeling too hopeful for the class. I feel like it's going to pretty much get stuck in the same position. Well, this is very interesting. Very minimal slip compared to the others, and the engine load isn't even being used. I cannot believe that. The medium wheelbase, medium category tractor at only 295 horsepower has just beaten the Fendt and the Massey. I am shocked. And it is motoring on pretty well, to be honest. I think we might have a contender here for second. I'm not too sure about first, but definitely second. Absolutely blown away by this. Well, let's see how it gets on with the rest of the field. Speak to you guys in a bit. And the small but mighty Claas comes in with a respectable, wait for it, 37.29. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I'm quite shocked that the Claas even made it up that first bit of the hill, considering the Massey and the Fendt both got stuck. Obviously, I'll try to be as fair as I can and could with the front weights. but I just don't understand why the Massey and the thing got stuck. This in theory is a lighter tractor because it's in the medium size, but I don't know what that portrays to real life. This could be a heavier tractor. I've obviously got some mods on to do with realism. That's why they got stuck and buried themselves. So, no, I am really impressed with this. This did the same thing as the John Deere though, and auto-generated 18-metre headland turns, even though I set 10. So I don't know if the John Deere and the Claas have some sort of conspiracy theory software in them, how the code's written. I'm not too sure, but no, really interesting competition. Like I said, I was going to take 5 seconds off for one of the ins and outs that was obviously a reverse, but it's not going to make too much of a difference. The Claas came last, but really surprised me. Well then guys, that brings us to the end of this machine battle, and what a really surprising result that was, to be honest. Here are your winners, starting on the left with the John Deere, coming in at 256,000 and a 32-minute 50 time. Quite respectable, and of course John Deere on top. It's the way they would have wanted it. Coming in second is the Claas Optum 300, 252,000 and with a respectable 35 minutes 04. Obviously the New Holland HD would be almost identical, if not the same. Next we have in third place is the Deutz, 246,000 and then with a 36-minute 34. And last place, but by no means least, the Claas Axion, £229,000. So it is a lot cheaper than the others. And then obviously a 37-minute 29. It's quite interesting how their position also relates to the time they took. The John Deere is the most expensive, but came first, followed by the Claas Optum, second, Deutz, third, Claas. So that's a really good result, I think. First and second, two top leading manufacturers. The Deutz coming in with a really respective third, and the Claas just blew me out the water really. Medium wheelbase, medium category. So much cheaper than the other tractors, but done so well. Which brings us to the bin. Poor Agco. The Fendt and the Massey could not complete this challenge. I am really quite surprised in this. This is going to upset a few people that do like these tractors. I've done this in the most unbiased way that I could. But unfortunately, if they can't go in the field and get grip and pull the implement in the field, then the test was even for everyone. The test was the same for everyone. They did not complete the test. Obviously, the John Deere is the winner, but it costs the most. Quite unimpressed by the Claas Optum. Quite impressed by the Deutz, considering it's technically it's almost an underdog. There's not many about, but they're considerably popular in Europe. But for value for money and performance, for a 300 horsepower tractor on Farming Simulator 19, the Claas 870 Axion wins it for me. If you want to do all that work but haven't got the money for a John Deere, the Claas, it sells itself. It's done the job really well. It was only a couple minutes longer than the John Deere. Really impressed with this machine. Really impressed. Really disappointed in these two, really, considering they're market leaders. The Fendt and the Massey, they are a market leader tractor, and they failed my test. So, until next time, guys, I hope you enjoy this episode, and I hope this helps your choice of tractors. My money's on the Claas. If you want to build up a farm quickly, want to save a bit of money, get that Axion. Until next time, guys, bye for now.